Welcome back to Straight Talk. I'm Laurel Porter. We're talking about the loss of confidence in information and the erosion of trust across the globe, especially in the United States. Welcome once again to my guests, Wei-Li Chong from KinderCare, Regina Lawrence from the University of Oregon Journalism School, and Stephen Kehoe from Edelman. Thanks again for being here. Let's talk about the lack of trust in government being the most broken institution in the United States. When asked what institution is most broken, 38% of respondents in China said business is most broken, while 59% of U.S. respondents said the most broken institution is government. Regina, there's really a connection here, isn't there, between the trust in the media and the trust in government? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. I think one thing that the Edelman Barometer really shows this time around in particular is how the credibility of media is really linked to the credibility of government and vice versa. And that stands to reason. For many people, the way that we access our government, the way we learn about what our government is doing is through the media. And vice versa, until recently, government had little way to communicate with the public other than through media. And so historically, it's been important for the media to have credibility in order for government messages to get through and to hold some credibility for the public. So both of those things declining together is really significant and really troubling.
And there's more trust now in business in the United States and new expectations for CEOs. The credibility of CEOs is up from 37% to 44%, according to the Trust Barometer. People are looking for reliable information from business and NGOs. Nearly 2/3 say they want CEOs to take the lead on policy change instead of waiting for the government. Nearly 7 in 10 say building trust is the #1 job of CEOs, ahead of high-quality products and services. At KinderCare, what are you doing? What do you think about this new responsibility really on you and on CEOs across the country?
Yeah, I think today there is, when you look at the connection between leadership, the company's culture, the consumer reputation, and the performance of the company, they're all linked together now. And I think there's so much importance for leaders to look in the mirror and recognize that they are leading a workforce, and the decisions they make socially and for the business are important for their employees and consumers.
Stephen, here's a quote from your report. This is the time for business to address the wage stagnation of the working class over the past 2 decades, while acknowledging the need to retrain employees who are about to be replaced by automation. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, people are concerned, and the distrust comes from, and concerns come from all sorts of different angles. And automation and the fear of loss of jobs and jobs migrating overseas, this is played heavily in the media. I mean, not least led by the president as he talks about what he needs to do to sort of bring jobs back to the country and sort of feeding into this. So people are very concerned, sort of the technology economy and how that's kind of growing. And these are issues which really it is squarely in the lane of CEOs to start to begin to address. And you know, the point is that in this world of distrust, people are looking for business leaders to stand up. And they have a mandate to do so. 72% of employees around the world say they trust their employer today to do the right thing. That is a remarkable statistic in this day and age, but it points to this issue that people are looking for leadership in this area. And so, yes, there are certain issues which consumers and employees are looking for CEOs to address, and they're expecting them to do so and not wait for the government to take the lead on this action. This is the time when people are looking for business to do that.
Wei-Li, I imagine you have a lot of middle wage workers at KinderCare. Are you addressing that wage stagnation at your company?
Absolutely. We, in 2 ways. One of the things we're proud of, I mentioned 2017 was the best year in our company's history. That's on top of the company investing over $120 million directly into wages and programs. And it's something we take very seriously and we invest every single year. But going to the topic of trust, what we're finding and our teachers are telling us, and they love being with children, so they're not in it for the money. Money is a price of entry. We have to create an environment, and when we do, what we're seeing is our teachers are staying longer and our families are staying longer.
We have just a couple minutes left, but I want to talk about how do we combat this pervasive distrust and growing concern about disinformation. You've kind of addressed what we can do at business. The report calls on all 4 institutions included in the survey, government, media, business, and NGOs, to work together. What's the best way we can accomplish that? And let's go to Regina and talk about, first of all, media. How do we rebuild trust?
There are probably several important things that need to happen, but one that we focus on at the Agora Journalism Center is something that's already been mentioned, the importance of listening and engaging with communities in a way that puts listening first. One thing that we know from research being done by our colleagues is that people say that part of the reason they don't trust media is a lack of transparency. They don't feel that they have a clear window into how journalists do their work and how they decide what to cover, who to interview, etc. So the more that journalists can both listen and in that process make more transparent to people how they go about doing their work, that can be an important pathway toward regaining some trust.
Stephen, just over a minute, but what's the call to action here? How do all four of these institutions work together to rebuild trust? And what if we don't do it?
Well, I mean, I think we're in a world of hurt. We're seeing this go in the wrong direction in terms of trust. This is a battle for truth. And at the end of the day, it's about education and information. People want the facts, and they want to reestablish their confidence in institutions that are going to give them to this. So we've got to think about getting away from the spin culture. We've got to think about how do we get across the fact that there are no political agendas as we convey information. And as we've talked about, institutions which are broadly trusted, like businesses, need to speak up. Silence is a tax on truth, and we've got to absolutely make sure that people are filling that gap with the real facts and the information. So it can be good or the bad, but if it's the truth, that's the way in which we start to rebuild across all of the institutions.
Are we getting good? I have like 10 seconds. Are we getting good reaction from audiences when you present that argument?
We are. I think everybody's beginning to recognize that, you know, it is about information and real information, and the more that can be provided, the more that's going to start to, I think, push up against the
Gotta go. Thank you to our guests, and thank you for watching Straight Talk.